This is the 50th anniversary of the March on Washington. And most of what we remember of the March on Washington was not the number of people who were there or even the reason why the march was held, but the one speech made by the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, which ended with, "I have a dream." That was not even the whole speech, and most of the speech is not remembered. All of us knew about the March on Washington. We knew that it was going to happen, and we were all eager to hear whatever was said and to see whatever was done. So on that day, with the masses of people coming to Washington for that march, we were glued to our little black and white TV sets because we did want to experience as much as we could experience in our own living rooms here in Houston. Dr. King went to a number of cities trying to keep alive SCLC. He was losing money. He was losing people. So he came to a number of cities. He came to Houston in 1964. That's when I first met him. And when he came to Houston, he found that he was not welcome in churches. Then FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover began to accuse Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. of being a communist. One of Hoover's closest friends was Dr. J.H. Jackson, who was at that time president of the National Baptist Convention, the largest black convention in the country. And Hoover and J.H. got together, and Hoover told J.H., "Don't let Martin preach in any Baptist pulpits because he's a communist." So I invited him to come to Wheeler Avenue Baptist Church, and he preached to us. And he could stay in hotels here. And when civil rights leaders came to cities, they had to stay in somebody's house. Well, mine was the house where he stayed. And so we got a chance to see him not just as a civil rights leader, but as a man. One of the most telling things about Dr. King, and most people think of him as an icon. He certainly is an icon. And they don't realize what a humble man he was. When we were trying to raise money, somebody lent to us his pickup truck and a bullhorn. And we were going up and down the streets, and we were asking people, "Give us anything you got, 50 cents, $1. And Dr. King said, I'll get on the truck. And we said, "No way, you can't get on this truck. You'd be a sitting or a standing target." This was the kind of person he was. He didn't mind marching with you, or in this case, riding through the streets with you. I even look back on his death in 1968 when he was going to Memphis to speak to the garbage workers. He went there and he spoke that night. That's where the mountaintop speech was given. And the next day, he was supposed to go out and to demonstrate with these garbage workers. It was suggested when he came to Memphis that he stay in one of the finer Holiday Inns. Memphis was the headquarters of the Holiday Inns, and he refused. He said, "I don't want to stay in a big white folks hotel. I want to stay among my people." So they took him to this hot sheet motel. He chose to go to the Lorraine, which was completely exposed to all of the abandoned buildings around. And it was there where he was vulnerable on that balcony. And he was killed largely because he chose not to stay in the Holiday Inns. Here's the guy who was willing to ride the back of a pickup truck with bullhorn. A very, very humble guy. And he was a guy who was, no question, a leader. But he never arrogated himself as a leader.